Welcome to the show. This week, Hagerstown Mayor Bob Bruchey and the City Council members held their annual State of the City Address and event in conjunction with the Hagerstown, Washington County Chamber of Commerce. We're pleased to have with us Mayor Bob Bruchey to talk to us about the city's successes and their plans over the next year. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you so
for
much.
having me. Yeah.
So let's get things kicked off here. I'm going to throw it to Ron first. One of the first questions that I had on my mind was the video at the State of the City, and the opening line was about us in Hagerstown being a business-friendly economy.
Well, keep in mind, that is looking forward to the future. That's not currently. I know that we want to believe that we're a business-friendly, a friendly business economy, but we're actually, we can be, and I think that is the goal in looking to the future in the state of the city. You know, part of the problem is that we have. I've talked to realtors and other investors from Northern Virginia, D.C., Gaithersburg, Rockville area. And they all say the same thing. They don't want to put their money in Hagerstown because we can't get our act together when it comes to things such as code compliance and permits and those kind of things. And they're right, unfortunately. I said it at the State of the City. We hear horror stories all the time, and we hear good stories. Don't get me wrong. We have good stories too. But unfortunately, it's like a 70-30, with the horror stories being 70%. Our goal, my goal, is to reverse that number at least, even if it's perception, even if it's not a reality. The point is we need, when a realtor or a business person is looking to expand or do something like that, we need them to feel good about coming to Hagerstown, and which is why we formed the Permits Inspection and Code Compliance Review Committee. I call it the Picker Committee for a reason, but and we have issues, and we have to deal with those issues. And this committee, hopefully, which is comprised of developers and contractors and business people and architects and people like that, will be able to sit with our staff and make recommendations that make the process smoother and get rid of that stigma that we have.
Sure.
And it is a stigma.
Well, before I toss it to the rest of the panel, let me ask this real quickly. What, if you could say one thing, what is the key to attracting business to Hagerstown?
Listen, it's customer service. I mean, that's what it is. We're customer service people, whether we want to believe it or not. I mean, our customers are our citizens and those people who come to invest in our city. And if we aren't on our game when it comes to that, then they aren't going to want to come and deal with us. And actually, staff right now, on the third and fourth floors are going through some customer service orientation kind of things. There's a class they hold every week, and so hopefully, we'll get them to understand. And again, real perceived, this is an issue that we have to address. So let's just address it and get that one out of the way.
Great, thank you. Ron, I know you're heavily involved with the goings-on of Hagerstown and downtown. Would you like to weigh in on anything for our mayor?
I'd like to follow up on what the mayor said. I've known the mayor for a long time. I've always known him to be very accessible. You call with a problem, he deals with it, gets it done. I'd like to go back to runways, railways, and roadways. And at the end of a runway or beside of a runway is a Hagerstown Regional Airport. We can be so business friendly if we can get our permits and inspection department not to be the enemy, but to be pro-business and have that, which shouldn't take long to do if you've got 5 councilmen and a mayor that wants to get it done. To marry that all into the positive things that we do have, we got one really great community to sell as long as we become business friendly.
Right, exactly.
And how do we do that? We've been doing the same thing now for a couple of years. We're now into a new era, And the other day, I think you made a comment about you're going to laser in on economic development. How will you laser in to do some of the things I just brought up?
Well, and by the way, I've stole your 3 R's. And I've used it before. Because, I mean, it's true. I mean, not only is it descriptive of what we have here to offer, but it's catchy. The 3 R's. So, listen, we can do one of two things. We can have our economic development staff sit at their desk and wait for the phone to ring, and then answer it. Okay, which has been basically the norm. Or we can become aggressive. And I'll relate a quick story. We're a gigabit city, and we're one of few, less than 200 in the country, only one in the 4-state region. So anyway, we're a gigabit city, and we don't send our IT people to these fairs and things like that. And I asked, I said, well, why don't we? I mean, why aren't we in Harrisburg? And why aren't we in places like that? To promote this gigabit city effort that we have going on here. And those are the kind of things that we're going to start doing. We're going to make sure that we get out and we get in those areas where they have growth, and maybe it's expensive growth in that area. And we want to be able to offer them an alternative. And the alternative is come to Hagerstown, where, as of right now, we're cheaper, maybe not in taxes, but we're cheaper in other areas. Square footage, the rent is cheaper and things like that. All utilities are cheaper. We have the cheapest utilities in the 4-state region.
Yeah.
So, we have those to offer, but, if we aren't out there offering them, I mean, you can sit there and wait for the phone to ring and it never rings. We can't do that anymore.
Right.
So.
Well, let me throw this to Ken. Do you have any questions for Mr. Mayor about, economic development issues?
Yeah, so, kind of following up on that, so as far as like Main Street, Hagerstown, how's that going to help as far as economic development?
I haven't delved into this to our Main Street yet, actually, and to be honest with you, we got a lot of good people on the Main Street Committee. Part of the problem with me, and I'm sure it has to do with age, is that back in 1998 is when Main Street came about, and it was all the rage, and then we looked at it back then, and we realized that we were doing more than what Main Street offered us.
Right.
So we didn't get involved in it back then. We're involved in it now. Happened in the last administration. It puts you in the front of the line sometimes for grants and things like that. I haven't seen that come to fruition yet, but it's not saying that it won't. But our Main Street people are very in tune. They kind of intertwined Main Street with the downtown movement people,
Right.
So that we have different things going on, a lot of people in a lot of committees. Hopefully that bears some fruit, and we'll be looking into that, of course. But and we help them every step of the way. But and again, back 19 years ago, it just seemed like we were doing more than what Main Street was offering us
Right.
to do. So.
Okay, excellent.
Colin?
So, Bob, you talked about the codes and compliance processes that we have in the city, and having a lot of friends who have been business owners or who are business owners, I know that a common complaint that we get is the difficulty in getting permits and being compliant with all the various regulations. So, what's your thought about streamlining that process?
Well, again, I think the Picker Committee will answer a lot of that, and bring some answers to some of those questions. But I want to give you an example. Okay, have you ever replaced a faucet in your house?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You have to have a permit for that. Did you know that?
Probably in the
Don't
city
tell
of
me
Hagerstown. Yes, I'm sure you do.
Okay, all right. Here's the thing. We have people who have invested in our community who have come in and want to be good landlords and do the right thing. And I'll give you one of the horror stories. There was a gentleman who the city asked him to move his electric meter. Okay, so it'd be easier for them to read. All right, so he did. Hired an electrician, moved it. Electrical inspector came in to inspect the work. They gave him the, you know, the use and occupancy for it, and then noticed that there was a replacement faucet to the sink. And so he called the plumbing inspector. And the plumbing inspector came up and fined him for not having a permit to replace that faucet. So I got, you know, I sent out an email just to figure it all out because,
Wow.
you know, and in the code, and my guy sent me the code, and in the code it does say, but because it doesn't just say replace, it says repair. Either, if you know.
So if you're putting a new
I asked him-
gasket in your
I asked
faucet,
him, that's exactly what I emailed him. I said, so you mean to tell me that if I want to replace a rubber gasket in my faucet to stop a drippy faucet, I have to come get a permit? They said, oh no, you don't have to for that. Now I didn't argue with him because I read the code, you know, and the code said repair or replace. So, yeah, you know, that's my thing. Listen, health and safety of the citizens is paramount, no matter what. All right. So yeah, codes are important. We need to abide by the code, but we can't make it such that it restricts people from doing the good work that they're doing. You know, and that's the problem. This guy that I'm referring to said, "Hey, look, I'll never do anything in Hagerstown again."
well, and the
No, and
reality
that's- and
I
that's what
think
kills
is
us.
it makes sometimes you have regulation that makes things regulation can become egregious.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think that's the example you're offering.
Most definitely. Yeah. So.
All great points on economic development and lots more to get into. So we'll get along on it. And next up on the flip side, we'll continue with our conversation with Bob Bruchey. Stay tuned.